Donald Trump has finally surfaced and just had an Oval Office press conference. It was a total disaster. He announced an executive order where he said he was officially renaming Lake Ontario to Lake of America. It was so utterly deranged. Watch this.
And finally, I guess the purpose of this more than anything else is we're going to be changing the name of Lake Ontario, effective immediately, to Lake America. That's going to take place right now as I sign the order. Do you have anything to say about it, Ben?
Yes, sir. So this is a straightforward but important executive order. It directs Secretary Burgum and the Department of the Interior to update the Geographic Names Information Service to reflect that the lake once known as Lake Ontario will, from this day forward, be known as Lake America.
Then Donald Trump was asked by reporters, what do you make of the fact that Russia and Iran will be meeting in order to further push forward their $25 billion plan to construct nuclear facilities in Iran? Doesn't this make it obvious that Russia is not taking your economic D-Day threat seriously? Donald Trump's like, no, I like Russia. I think they've been great in the Strait of Hormuz. They've been perfect. They've been really good. Here, play this clip.
There is reports that Vladimir Putin is meeting with the president of Iran to talk about a nuclear agreement next week. Is there concern in the administration, in the White House, that these countries aren't taking economic D-Day seriously, that they're going to continue doing business with Iran despite the warnings?
No, Iran is right now, they're not paying their troops. They're in deep trouble. They have very little capacity. Last night, we took 24 boats through the Strait. We're taking them through all the time. I say it very openly. It doesn't mean we're finished with the military, but the Strait is open, as you know. The Strait of Hormuz is open. We have control and we have the blockade. Iran's not getting anything. Nothing is going through. Not one ship has gotten through.
Will you punish Putin or Russia if they continue
Well, it
to do
depends.
business?
It depends. So far, I think Russia's behaved quite well having to do with the Strait of Hormuz. And you have to understand, for everything they do, we do also. You know, somebody was saying about China, what about China? We hear they're spying. We spy on them too.
Then a reporter says, your answers are really odd, man. Like, why are you spending your time attacking Canada? Why are you doing things like this against your allies while you're praising your adversaries? You're congratulating Russia for doing more nuclear deals with Iran after the economic D-Day announcement. Like, what are you doing? Here, play this clip.
Things like this towards America's allies instead of doing things that...
Well, they haven't treated us well. The Canadian officials have treated us very badly. They're nasty people. They charge our farmers 400% tariffs. They've been doing it for a long time. And I had them figured out in my first term, and I did some pretty strong things and had it getting pretty good. And then the election was rigged, and now I'm coming back and doing it the way and finishing the job. But they treat us very badly. Canada treats us very badly. I would say that of all countries, as you know, we have President Xi coming in a couple of weeks. We deal with a lot of people, and people oftentimes, they'll ask me, who's the worst to deal with on trade? And I said, that's easy, Canada. They are the worst to trade, and they feel entitled, and just we can't have that.
Now, this comes at the same time that Iran's parliament leader, MB Ghalibaf, was mocking the United States for this approach. Here's what he posted over here. MB Ghalibaf writes, instead of funneling billions to its terrorist proxy Israel and 750 bases, this failing empire could spend that cash on its own people. But nah, that'd make too much sense for this regime. Scotty, man? ? Your credibility is on the line. Do something. And he was responding, MB Ghalibaf was responding to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying, as the Iranian people struggle to afford basic necessities, the corrupt regime continues to squander enormous sums abroad. Instead of funneling billions of dollars to its terrorist proxies, the regime should spend that money for its people. What an odd thing for Treasury Secretary Bessent to say at the same time. Like literally he's describing the United States, but it's always confession and projection with these guys. Now back to what else was going on. You had Donald Trump attacking Canada, saying we have a Gulf, a lake. Now we need an ocean. Here, play this clip.
The lake change, Lake of America, was something I've been thinking about for a long time, actually. As you know, we took something called the Gulf of Mexico. We changed it, and now it's very routinely, the Gulf of America. So if you think about it, we have a Gulf and we have a lake. Now all we need is an ocean. So maybe we'll have to change the name of the Atlantic and or the Pacific. Maybe we'll change them both.
Right, utterly deranged. More from Donald Trump here. He's asked, what would you say to those who are concerned that tariffs could affect affordability? Donald Trump says, no, this is going to be great for us. Canada rips us off, so we need to attack Canada. Again, he's doubling, tripling down on his attacks of Canada. And he also talks about how he wants to crush the Canadian auto industry. Again, Donald Trump's a predator. He's a sicko. But let's play this clip.
What would you say to those who are concerned a trade dispute with Canada could affect American affordability ahead of midterms?
Well, ultimately, it's going to be very good for us because we're losing, when you talk about affordability, we're losing $62 billion a year on average with Canada. And if you really look at it, we're losing more than that. It's too much. It's too much. We can't lose that. We don't want to lose it. We don't want to lose it anymore.
Then Donald Trump said, we can't let the whole Canadian thing that's been going on for decades, we can't let it keep going on. The Canadian thing, it needs to stop. And then Trump says he's going to war with Canada on auto. You do realize that they can just shut off electricity to the United States. Like they could put a surcharge on it. You do realize we get most of our crude from Canada. You do realize the only reason there is a trade deficit is because the U.S. benefits from all of the crude and energy that we get. Good luck finding aluminum and nickel and other critical metals elsewhere. And, you know, the Maine lobstermen, say goodbye to your job. People in Michigan, say goodbye to your jobs. You've already have. This is the Trump regime for you. Here, play this clip.
As you know, Canada's been ripping us off for a long time on trade, very sadly. Even the military, you know, we defend Canada for nothing. We don't get anything. They don't pay us to defend Canada, but we defend Canada. And they understand that. As an example, we bought icebreakers. They'd like to use them. We have 11 brand new icebreakers coming in. They'd like to use the icebreakers. They don't pay for anything. And they want to be treated like a state, but they're not a state. But they want to be treated like they're a state. And so we just can't do that anymore. We lose on average over the last 15 years, $60 billion a year carrying Canada. So we just can't do it anymore. We love the people of Canada. I don't think their representatives do an appropriate job. Maybe they'll change. I really don't know. I mean, it doesn't make much difference. But we can't let the whole Canadian thing that's been going on for decades, and it has to come to a stop. So we're going to be doing tariffs on their cars that are coming in at a substantial level because we want to make the cars here. We don't want, you know, if they can make their own cars if they want, and they can continue to make their cars for Canada. But we don't want them to make cars for the United States of America. It's very simple. Likewise, many other products. So
more from Donald Trump here, saying that he's going to be spending a lot of time helping Ken Paxton in Texas. Good. Here, play this clip.
And that's not a man that represents the value of Texas. So I'm going to help Ken Paxton, and I'm going to spend a lot of time in Texas. I have the all-time highest vote in the history of Texas also. And I'm going to spend some time there. We're going tonight. Some of you are going with me. Thank you very much, everyone.
Then he describes what he's going to be saying in Texas. He says that Talarico is a Talafrico, and I'm going to keep calling him Talafrico. Yeah, because you're like, no offense to petulant 3-year-olds, but like your behavior is that of a petulant 3-year-old bully. It's just very bizarre. Play this clip.
Thank you. So I'll be going to Texas. And we're working very hard. We want to win that race. He's running against a man who should never be. We have a very good candidate, Ken Paxton, and he's running against Talafrico, they call him, because he is a little freaky. And that's not a man that represents the value of.
Donald Trump then says he's had great talks with Putin, very good talks. Putin's not going to attack NATO territory. Last night, yesterday, Putin engaged in a massive hack against Norway. And we know that Putin is investing heavily in Iran's nuclear capabilities. But okay, great chat with Putin. And of course, after John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, met with Putin's team in Moscow, we know that Russia launched massive strikes against Ukraine yesterday as well. And they don't take anything that the Trump regime says seriously. But as Trump is attacking Canada, here's what he's doing.
Vladimir Putin agreed or committed to not attacking a NATO territory?
I've had good talks with him. He's not going to be attacking a NATO territory.
Mr. President,
A reporter's like, so why not sanction Chinese banks? Are you going to do that? And Trump's like, I don't have to tell you what I'm going to do. You just don't know. I'm very mysterious what I'm going to do. Here, play this clip.
You know, somebody was saying about China, what about China? We hear they're spying. We spy on them too. That's the way it goes.
why not sanction Chinese banks, though, who are doing business?
Well, who said I'm not? You said, why not? I mean, who said I'm not? You don't know if I'm doing it. Well, I don't have to announce everything, do I?
Now, as Donald Trump's also ranting and raving like a lunatic there, you also have the undersecretary of at the Defense Department, Elbridge Colby, and he spends his time like right as Donald Trump's doing that press conference. Colby's attacking Germany and saying the U.S. spends 4% of our GDP on military. Why isn't Germany? The American people don't want us spending 4% of GDP on our military. We don't want a $1.5 trillion. It's deranged. And by the way, you've taken that 4% and you've flushed it down the toilet, or you've given it to Trump's friends and your friends while the American people get screwed over. We don't want we don't want a $1.5 trillion military budget. That's ridiculous. You could still have a $300 billion military budget. It would be the most in the world, and Americans could get healthcare and housing, and things could be more affordable. Here's what this sicko says. Play it.
I think President Trump deserves tremendous credit, no question. But it's also something that the Germans themselves are seeing as in their interest and seeing as something that's reasonable. How is it reasonable for the American people to be spending 3.54% of GDP on defense and being able to project power for all our benefit, and the German people to be spending 1%. At some point, that just doesn't make sense anymore. We're beyond that. That's one of the key things.
And this guy I'm showing you, Elbridge Colby, he's begging Xi Jinping for a meeting, and Xi Jinping doesn't want to meet with him. And Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, doesn't want to meet with this clown, because this clown was the guy who was like, we need to decouple from China. And now he's a China bootlicker all of a sudden. Well, he probably has been his whole life. He's such a fraud and a phony, this loser. Here, play this clip of the next thing that he says. Let's play it.
We face, and we have a good plan, reasonable plan for European-led conventional defense through things like the NATO NDPP process, through the NATO force model that's going to put Europe in a lasting position where it's going to be able to lead its own defense. The United States is not leaving the continent. It's not leaving the alliance. It's saying how we're going to make this fit for purpose. We're going to go back to the origins of what NATO is supposed to be, where Europe is going to take the lead. And
again, just constant attacks of NATO. NATO is always non-U.S. It'll just be all of Europe. Yeah, the world's moved on from you, bud. Everyone knows that under the Trump regime, y'all are a bunch of losers. You've turned the United States into a loser nation. It's really sad to see. And what will be taking place next week at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Shanghai, there will be a meeting with the growing BRICS bloc powers, who have become a far more dominant force right now, as the United States has become this, isolated, weird thing. I don't even know what this even is. But you saw it there. You saw it there for yourself. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.